Holy I'm in the Luna van. Okay, you ready?
Yeah.
All right, welcome everybody to Rocket Future. My name is Andrew, and Tim, I'm gonna do your introduction a little bit differently.
Oh.
I'm gonna read to you two different introductions, and you're gonna tell me which one you think I wrote and which one you think AI wrote.
Gotcha.
All right, so today we're joined by Tim Dodd, the Everyday Astronaut. You may know him from his YouTube blockbusters such as Is SpaceX Raptor Engine the King of Rocket Engines? Or Are Aerospikes Better Than Bell Nozzles? Or you may have heard, or even heard that Tim was announced to be a crew member on the dearMoon mission to the moon.
I'm going to the moon. Like, literally, I'm going to go to the moon.
He brings space down to Earth for everyday people. Tim Dodd, the Everyday Astronaut. Thanks for joining us.
Okay.
So that was number one.
Okay.
Number two, we have a truly exciting guest joining us today. Our guest is a pioneering YouTuber who has made headlines for his unique and ambitious project. He is none other than Tim Dodd, the Everyday Astronaut, who is embarking on a historic journey to the moon. That's right, you heard it correctly. He will be the first ever YouTuber to travel to the moon. And we have the privilege of speaking with him today. Let's give him a warm welcome to Tim as we learn more about his journey and vision for the future of space exploration. That's number two.
I think the second one
You think the second one was written by AI?
was written by AI.
Yep, you got it.
I was gonna say, if it literally included specific, like, videos and stuff, I was like, dang, that bot's getting crazy.
Right. I wouldn't be surprised, to be honest with you.
That's true.
It's getting pretty good, but
any day it'll be including that type of stuff.
it's kind of nuts. So yeah, no, but for sure, like really, thanks for doing this with us today. Ooh, that looks
I
good.
forgot about these. That'll actually help a lot. Here, you got one there. Make sure it's kind of pointed. This guy. Oh,
Nice.
nice.
So we're here from your Luna van, which I did not expect. This is awesome.
Sweet.
So thanks for having me here.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, we'll just go through some stuff. You wanted to start out with like 2022. I think pretty much anybody who follows you on socials knows that you had an insane year last year, coast to coast, trying to cover all the different launches, Florida multiple times, and all this different stuff. And I think even on like your Twitter, you might have said that it was difficult at times and everything. So, yeah, kind of what was the best part of the year? Was it all worth it in the end, or was it just kind of a tough year all around?
Yeah, yes and no and yes. It's, like, I'm realizing in life the granularity of emotions.
Right.
That oftentimes the highest of highs also conflict simultaneously with the lowest of lows too.
Right.
Like, or that the most stressful times are also the most rewarding times, or vice versa. The happiest times are also bittersweet in certain ways. And I think last year was one of those years where a lot of the culmination of almost like anxiety of missing out on these big things precluded in like this, I don't know, it's like, yes, I'm really glad that I was there for Artemis 1. I was really glad and proud to be able to provide a live stream for Firefly, be the official live stream provider for an up and coming launch provider, like dream come true.
Yep.
But it also was really hard.
Yeah.
And the hardest thing, it wouldn't be so bad if this was, so in a prior life, I did wedding photography.
Okay.
And ironically, that you're scheduled out like a year in advance, this day.
It's very regimented.
Very regimented, very like in the books, it's not moving. And which sucks when 3 weeks before a wedding, your friends are like, hey, do you want to go to this concert in Minneapolis or whatever? And you're like, sorry, man. And now it's like the opposite is true. I can't plan. I can, a year from now, totally fine. And then all of a sudden, 2 weeks, a week into like it's coming up, you're like, I have no idea still.
Right.
And like between this, Starship, Artemis, and a new launch company, multiple sliding timelines and time frames it was really hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't even imagine it. Like, it took multiple times for Artemis, multiple times for Firefly,
and the whole time we thought, at the time, like, this thing's imminent too.
Right, yeah.
Because this is always imminent.
Yeah.
This thing is literally always
everything
a week or two
is
away.
about to happen here.
Yes,
at
constantly.
all times.
Always and never about to happen simultaneously. So ultimately, I can summarize 2022 as I'm glad that it's over with. I'm glad Artemis launched. It was beautiful. I had this simultaneous relief of, oh my God, it finally launched. And it was beautiful and it looked great and it felt great. And just this relief of like, now that's finally check that one, check Firefly.
Right.
Now we can focus on this. And get back to, for me, like it finally was a chance to start having a breath of fresh air to be able to get back into producing videos. Because that's ultimately what the whole point is.
Yeah. Speaking of which, I saw your stoke video that just came out, and it was awesome. I really enjoyed that.
Thank you.
What a cool opportunity to be able to see that thing fire up. That's just
Dude,
like insanity.
They're going to be hopping that hopefully here hilariously soon. Like, I think by the end of the year, they're going to be hopping.
Okay.
Which when they say stuff, I'm kind of starting to believe.
Yeah.
Like, those guys are nuts. It is so cool. I love that. I had a great time
That's
out
so
there.
cool. It looked like a fun video to make.
It was.
So a little bit more on last year. We're in the news van, and we've heard all about it, the redacted news van, and we've heard, you know, again, just about all of the challenges you've had in the streams and everything over the course of the year. What are you kind of looking forward to this year with the van, and are you going into 2023 with the same plan, or have you kind of adjusted courses?
Big time adjusted courses.
Okay.
The van's not moving from South Texas.
Okay.
Like, I can't.
Yeah.
It's just every time it moves, every time, like, it's just not worth it to me. Like, there's some launches that I really want to see and go to. I want to go see, you know, Polaris Dawn. I would love to see first Vulcan launch. I really wanted to try to see the first Rocket Lab launch from U.S. soil.
Same.
There's a handful of exciting launches. I'd love to see Relativity, but honestly, I don't think I'm going to try live streaming.
That's fair.
You know, I think, although that's the point of this whole thing.
Yeah.
It takes a team of like 5 people, a lot of just time and management and tons of setup, like hours and hours and hours of setup. And for something that is just not that assured of a thing, I think there are launches that, like, I think things that I can do with this van that I don't think are really possible through any other system.
Right.
But there's also, so it's kind of like choosing my battles. But I think at this point there's only so much you can really do. So I don't know.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
That's fair. I mean, yeah, it seems like it was a hard portion of your year, just keeping this thing up and running and working. So
yeah.
So one of the things we were able to do last year was fly in one of Jared Isaacman's jets, and that video was absolutely insane.
Thank you.
So there was a moment in that video that really got me thinking, and it's when you had another plane flying right overhead, and you kind of just go like, and I think you put in a little caption there about mind blown or something like that.
Brain broken.
Yeah.
Like,
do you have was there any thought involved there? Like, what were you thinking? Do you know?
I just couldn't. Literally, when I say like the little caption brain broken, I literally remember in my head over and over just hearing does not compute, because you're seeing the MiG is a pretty big jet too.
Absolutely.
Like, it's pretty big. And it's flying right over I'm seeing exhaust nozzles of another jet from what feels like, 10 feet away, 3 meters. Like, I think that's literally about what it was. It felt like, if I reached too hard and had a stick, I could poke the plane, And it just was like, you know your relative speeds are hundreds of miles an hour, and it's just like, it just didn't make sense.
That's crazy.
Playing flight simulators a good chunk of my life too, like, I've seen that in video games. So to see something like that in real life,
it's just kind of like, what is happening and why am I here to witness it?
Yeah, and how and why and where and what. It just my brain's just like,
That's so cool.
Yeah, it was. It really was.
That is one of my goals eventually. I want to get on one of those things.
Yeah.
That would be really cool.
Yeah. Highly recommend it.
Yeah. Yeah, so moving forward a little bit. So actually, one of the things you posted last year was actually some unfortunate news. That was the passing of Ken Block.
Yeah.
And if anybody doesn't know who Ken Block is, him and his team, Hoonigan, they make absolutely insane vehicles and video production about vehicles and driving and racing and all that stuff. And he was just like an inspiration to a lot of people. But I didn't necessarily expect to hear that like he was an inspiration for you or a part of your life and stuff. So it kind of opened up the question, like, who outside of the space realm kind of influences you and inspires you to do what you're doing here today? Yeah,
let me give a quick shout out to Ken and his team though. So our connection with Ken was one of my best friends actually is a quad amputee. He was a Navy EOD member. Lost all 4 limbs in Afghanistan. His name's Taylor. Awesome guy. Hang out with him whenever I'm home in Iowa, and our group of friends still get together quite often. And he, when he was in recovery, he got all these offers, offers from all over the place. Do you want to go to a football game and all these things, which is obviously people outpouring support and love.
For sure.
And but it was overwhelming. And I remember at one point, we were just asking like, Taylor, what do you want to do?
Right.
he was like, all right, if I had my choice, I'd want to ride in a fighter jet, a Formula One car, or Ken Block's car.
Wow.
Those are his 3 things.
Okay.
And, we kind of looked around, like, my friend Ben and I, who both are, we produce content, we're like, I bet we can get Ken Block's attention. He's a content guy.
Yeah.
And so one of the first times he was back home in Iowa, we put him in my car, we taped his foot to the clutch pedal, put a tractor steering knob on one of his arms,
Yep.
and just had him drifting in the snow and
Wow.
calling Ken Block out like, is that all you got kind of thing,
Oh, that's sick.
Within 24 hours, his team reached out and said, hey, we're going to be in Missouri in about a month. Meet us there.
That's amazing.
And
Wow.
so he invited us out and gave Taylor a ride in his car. And we brought a crew of like 12 people down, and they treated us all like family and just hung out and it was just so cool, and they were just super chill. So we all stayed in touch. I shot one of their content managers' weddings in New Jersey.
Wow.
So a group of people that I was super inspired by, because seeing them work on content, how they deal with video and how they think about all of that stuff is so cool. And they were just
Wow.
such a good hang, and I just really loved them. And it was I think that left a bigger mark. And knowing how Ken treated YouTube as, at the time, I think when he started doing the Hoonigan stuff, most videos were cat videos or something,
Right.
low production.
Right.
And here were huge production videos marking, some of the most viral videos ever on YouTube at the time, were these huge productions that he would do. And it was
Yeah.
just so cool. So that to me set a bar of this is what YouTube, this is what content creation is, this is what virality is, this is what excitement is on the internet, So.
Absolutely. They set a pretty big standard for
100%.
And it's just the production involved. But it's really good to hear that they're a good team and they're good people. And
genuinely the best, yeah.
so hopefully we'll still see that team, keep moving even after the passing of Ken.
Oh yeah. They've got some big things in plan still. But I'd say otherwise, outside of Ken Block and Hoonigan, people like MKHB, MKBHD, Marquez Brownlee. You've got Destin from Smarter Every Day.
Oh yeah.
We've got Scott Manley, of course, has been producing content for ages, just doing such an amazing job. There's a handful. I've always looked up to people that produce. Mark Rober, really high quality videos. YouTube, sure, it's the platform, but it doesn't define the quality. And I think
Right.
for a long time there's people that thought of YouTube as just it's just a YouTube video. But there's a certain handful of creators that have always just gone in all the way, and I just always appreciated that.
Yeah, and I think they again set the groundwork. I think a lot of people in our generation are now only watching YouTube and not watching regular TV or anything.
Yep,
so
exactly.
it's a shift for sure.
Exactly.
And how about music? I know we've talked about music a little bit in the past, and you're a very talented music producer as well. I think all of the music you use in your videos are self-produced, right?
Yep.
Which is awesome. So how about music? Do you have any big inspirations in the music scene?
Man, this is one of those. I feel like I always will forget someone that was a huge influence.
I feel you.
But I think I'm actually realizing probably one of the bigger influences, and I saw them in concert right at the Falcon Heavy launch in November. That launched at I don't remember, 7 a.m. or 8 a.m. or something, and we had to get up at 3:30 to set up the van. I flew straight from there to Austin because I had tickets to see Foals, a British indie rock band called Foals, and they've been actually a huge influence. But
F-O-L-E-S?
Yep, F-O-A-L-S. Sorry.
F-O-A-L-S.
Yep, like a baby horse. I
Okay.
think. They were phenomenal. They played such a good show. Them, I really like Death Cab for Cutie, a bunch of hardcore bands like Animals as Leaders and Between the Buried and Me, math rock bands. I don't even know. I'm gonna forget a million bands that I bucket list bands, I'm sure. But yeah, music's always been a huge part of my life, and yeah,
that's awesome. And it seems like you're keeping up with it even with all the craziness that is Everyday Astronaut. Are you specifically making time to be able to go back and do it, or are you kind of weaning off of it a little bit?
Trying, man. After the whole big Artemis and all that stuff, when I was home in December, I sat and wrote music for a bit for the first time in a long time, in 9 months probably. And for me, it's always kind of been a bit of an outlet. And it was fun. I started producing tracks for a friend's band too. And I really enjoyed that as well. I've got a really talented group of friends in Iowa that go by the name of Salt Fox.
Salt Fox.
And they are awesome. It's funny. They should just be called the three 4-kid dads, because they're all dads with 4 kids.
Oh, that's cool.
And they're amazing musicians, so good. I'm just how is this happening that you 3 come together and create music like this? And it was really fun to take some of their tracks and work on those, because that was That's a fun way for me to work too, not just like playing music, but actually like taking someone else's and yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. It's like you get the creative side of things and you get the technical side of things, and it seems like you found like a good balance between the two.
I really enjoy it. It's always just an outlet though, for sure.
And you mentioned Between the Bear to Me. I still haven't listened. They released Colors 2 album, and
Yes.
Colors 1 is like one of my favorite albums of all time. I haven't had a chance to listen to Colors 2 yet. Does it hold up?
To.
Really?
Yes and no. Over the years to me they've become more like prog rock and less metal, you know? And like although there are some nice throwbacks and nice like callbacks to Colors, but it ever more feels more and more like they're becoming like Dream Theater or something.
Yeah.
And like
I can see that.
I just don't love that personally. Like I really like their old stuff, you know. Like in Alaska and stuff like that. And I still love them. Like they're just one of those bands that I'll forever enjoy. And like Meshuggah as well is like another one that like actually they keep getting better, I think.
Really?
Like the more we get into life, like
I haven't caught up with them in a long time.
I hadn't either until recently. Like this winter I went through another Meshuggah phase. There's like an Essentials album that you can find that's like on iTunes that's just like a good amount of stuff, and that made me realize an album that came out like 2016 is incredible.
Wow.
Like way too good.
Maybe it deserves a re-listen. I'll go back to it.
Definitely.
And check it out.
Yep.
So we're going to switch categories in a little bit, but before we do, just anything specific that you have in mind in store for 2023, specifically with Everyday Astronaut and this?
Yeah, the big thing is, and I said this last year, and it really upsets me that it didn't even remotely come true, but the big thing is I really, really want to be having at least one produced video come out per month.
Okay.
And I know that seems like from so many content creators that'd be laughable, like only a video a month, you know, but...
Oh no, that's hard.
It's hard, especially like little things like traveling, you know, for this and some other projects and things that I'm working on, just takes away from that. Like you think like a travel day, no big deal, but almost no matter what, it slips away from you.
Right.
And it's like a day gone.
Yeah.
And there's a handful of things, but the big one he has, and I've got a queue, like I finally do have like a list of things, things that are actually like getting done, that are actually, so I see that might be a possibility to actually on average have one come out a month or so. But other than that, Starbase here and Starship's orbital is definitely the big thing.
The big goal.
I've got some other things on the table that like just other, you know, I'm doing a panel at South by Southwest.
Oh, nice.
I've got a handful of just like little things here and there that are going to be intermittent, sprinkled in there too. But hopefully it can kind of just get down to more regular content creation, and I'm really excited about like the next like 3 or 4 videos that are going to come out, you know, after like up next. Every one of them, I'm like, I can't wait to get to that one. I can't wait to get to that one.
Oh,
So,
we're looking forward to seeing them then.
good.
I mean, they've all been great. So
Thank you.
we're looking forward to it. So you want to talk a little bit about dearMoon?
Yeah, let's do it.
I think the first question that everybody has on their minds about dearMoon is, who's going to host the stream on launch day? If you can't be in the studio, who's going to be there?
Well, believe it or not, and this is still nothing's official. There's still a lot of things to figure out. But
sure.
One of the things that I'm going to be pushing really hard, I'm going to try to host and stream live.
No way.
Like during launch.
Heck yeah.
Why not?
That's awesome.
I mean, I know there's obviously like concerns with production of a rocket launch.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like if you're nervous about the safety factors of that and like the implications of having a live stream,
Yeah.
like I don't know, maybe that should be a good bar to have. Like
That's fair.
have it be safe enough that you feel comfortable showing live everyone's, you know,
a really good point.
screaming faces of
Yeah.
like, oh my God, I'm launching, you know?
Maybe have all your biometrics up on the screen and
Yeah,
stuff
that
too.
would be awesome. Like that, I mean, I don't know if there's going to be some technical challenges
Absolutely.
and obviously pushback with, you know, concerns on everything,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
but that is what I'm going to push for. Other than that, we'll have to figure it out, but that's what I'm going to try. And it's not even, it's really not from like a selfish perspective of like, oh, well, it's my channel, I need to host it, because obviously I've had co-hosts on and stuff and I love that. But it's really just that experience, that the opportunity to really have people experience it with me. You know, like
For
this
sure.
is obviously something that all of us spaceflight fans think a lot about and probably try to imagine people's faces during a launch. So, and emotions that they experience. And I would love to make the good, the bad, and the ugly show up as I'm probably weeping my eyes out, or worst case scenario, throwing up a bunch, like whatever. I don't know. Who knows? You know, just screaming, you know,
That'll be cool.
for joy. Who knows, you know?
Well, that'll be exciting if that can all come to fruition. That'd
Yeah.
be really cool. All right, now for the hard-hitting questions. Are you going to go see Stevie Aoki in concert before launch day?
You know, I've never seen him perform. I'm familiar with his music and his shows, but I've never seen him. Obviously, if that opportunity arises, like it'd be really fun, especially like as we get to know each other. We still haven't met. I still haven't met Steve in person yet, so that'll be fun to see what that's like.
Yeah.
See if there's I hope there's a good connection there that we all, I've met most crew members and everyone's just been incredible in person. Lots of Zoom calls though. But most people I've met in person too, and I assume that based on the selection process and how curated and detailed the dearMoon team has been, I'm sure he's going to be an awesome hang.
Yeah.
And it'll be really fun to hang out with him and hopefully see him perform.
Yeah. There's like a great documentary about him and everything. He's just like a wild dude. I've seen him live, I think probably 2 or 3 times. And he's actually in town around this area in March sometime. I don't know if you're going to be in town around then, but he'll be, I think, right in the middle of the month somewhere. He'll be nearby. So.
Is it in Austin? Is he there for South by?
No, he's going to be on South Padre.
Really?
Yeah. He's like one of the only artists that comes down here every year for spring break.
No way.
Yeah. Okay. So I don't know if it's going to be like the authentic Steve Aoki experience. It might be like the spring break authentic Steve Aoki experience. But either way, it should be crazy.
That's good to know. I did not know that.
Keep that in mind.
Cool.
So kind of sticking with the music category here. So I'm going to describe like 3 different scenes that you might experience during the dearMoon mission. Mm-hmm. And if you could like curate a playlist, it could be a specific song, or if you don't have songs in mind, like a genre, during these 3 moments.
Okay, yep.
First is countdown, T-minus 10 minutes out to launch.
Yep. What's
the vibe?
Definitely like super ambient. Well, not super ambient because I think that's also best maybe for in space. So maybe something like, I do think, our friends at Cosmic Perspective, a lot of the films they do, like there's always this like tension in a lot of the music of like Fuel Up and so I don't know what a good example for sure would be, but it would have to be something that's like kind of like droning of like the like the heartbeat, like the throbbing of it's here it comes and like the anticipation. I don't have a good specific song off the top of my head.
Oh, that's all right. No worries.
Yeah, that's what I'd go with though.
And a couple more. We'll see if there's a differentiation or not.
Okay.
Starship engine cutout, 0G. What are you thinking?
Oh, almost silence.
Silence.
Yeah.
Nothing at all.
Like, because I think that's what it's going to be like.
Yeah.
It'll be like, well, and I have that song on Ascent when it turns into Landing Burn on we have audio coming through. Interesting. Cool. That's a good sign.
Yeah. Some live views and audio.
On Heliocentric, that EP, there's a song called Ascent. There's a song called Landing Bird, and right in between the two, there's a It's like kind of goes like
bass
quiet
drop.
for a second. Yeah, like a little bit of an 808, and I kind of think that's kind of what it's going to be like. Just like all of a sudden, like oh my god, like your stomach, everything's just going to be like oh, and then you're going to get hit back, for the second engine burn. But I think it's almost like this like. A silence, like a calm before the storm again, almost.
Makes sense.
And according to, I had Chris Sombrowski on one of our Artemis streams, popped in, and I asked him what that was like, and he was surprised how much louder and more visceral the second stage was, because the engine is like, right there.
Yeah.
So he's like, you can really hear the turbo pump spool up. You hear all that stuff right there. And I just hadn't even really thought much about that. So I wonder how much more visceral the second stage is going to be.
That's a great point.
After Miko, like second stage comes on, like how much more are you going to hear and feel,
Yeah, you'll still have a considerable more distance between you and the back of it than on Falcon Area. So
exactly.
That'll be interesting.
Yeah, it will be interesting.
And last one, first morning, waking up after the launch, sipping a cup of coffee out of like your weird like ISS thing, looking out the window, planet below, what's playing?
Oh man. I don't want to get this wrong. Man, I actually do have to think about this. Like, and my girlfriend Allie will probably be curating a playlist like this. She's actually really good at curating. Like, she helps me find so much new music.
Cool.
But she like curates really specific playlists, and I wonder. It's so funny. She'd probably like come up with one right off the top of her head. Like, oh yeah, that's perfect for blah blah blah. Right off the. I can't think of anything on the top. There is a song that I want to listen to. It's by Foles called Luna. And it's an interesting song because I think it's in 9/8, instead of 4/4 or anything.
Weird.
It's a weird time signature, or it's 11/8. I don't remember, one of the two. But you just don't even notice it because the drums play straight through it in 4/4, and like it's like this weird like anti-polyrhythm thing that you just don't even notice unless you're like wait, the guitar keeps like moving, one count every bar, every 2 bars, and it's I love that song. So that would be one that I want to listen to at some point for sure. Would be
Yeah?
yeah.
That sounds cool. All right, and one more thing about dearMoon and the potential the moon experiences. So again, maybe looking out at the moon, and you pick out some feature of the moon that looks really interesting to you, snap a photo of it. You get back home, do some research on it, and figure out that feature of the moon hasn't been named yet. You have the ability to name a feature of the moon.
Oh no.
What is it going to be?
Oh no. Every name that I'm ever going to come up with is going to be horrible. Something like Donkey McStonkerson, like something that's so terrible that, oh God, like all my Kerbal like ships and stuff are always something mix something. Well, and nowadays we have the, and it's always been this way. So it always cracked me up when we had like Bodie McBoatface and stuff like that, So I was like, that's what I always do, something mix something. And yeah, I'd probably say like Donkey McStonkerson, probably most likely.
You heard it here first.
Donkey McStonkerson, the beautiful feature on the moon. Yep.
Sounds good. So some general questions about Starship and Starbase. So I've only been here for about 9-10 months at this point. So I actually missed and at least in person, missed all the action with all the low altitude, the hops and the high altitude flight tests.
Yep.
And the energy in the area around that must have been like nuts. I'm starting now to like really feel the energy builds. Everybody's really pumped up down here and stuff. But for you, where you've kind of seen both, how is the energy now compared to like when they were actually doing flights down here?
So yeah, this is when I visited the pad this weekend. It was the first time I've been down at the pad since November. And yeah, you see like a lot more people coming around being like, I was hoping to catch a test down here.
Right.
I hadn't seen that for a while.
There's a lot of people asking about it.
There's a lot of people coming down. And my number one tip is so funny. I try to say this all the time. If you're trying to catch the launch, especially this one, don't even think about booking a flight until the 33 into static flight. Get that out of the way and then wait even then. Wait until we have some actual dates. The closer to, like, if it's a week or two away, it's not a week or two away. We know this by now. So it really should, you should wait to come down here until the day before you think it's going to launch. Like if they're saying, hey, it's going to launch, it's a Monday, and they're going to say it's launching on Wednesday. Now we're within that realm of get down here.
Right.
But too much earlier than that, you're going to be waiting around,
Gotcha.
Is the real reality. But there is a certain energy level, and unfortunately, I didn't get to experience a ton of that. There was a decent amount, like SN 8, 9, 10, like the high altitude.
Right.
But it was also COVID times, and so
True.
There were people coming down, of course, and but it was just that it was still that weird in betweener time where it's people didn't leave and travel as much and that kind of stuff. So this is probably going to be one of the first times that we actually see the crowds get unleashed.
Yeah, I'm real curious what SPI is going to be on launch day.
Oh my God.
Anyway.
Yeah, it could be crazy.
So some of your videos that you put out are tours of Starbase with Elon, and during one of those you actually got a chance to go up in the tower. Did you go to the top or?
We were at basically there is still it is the top technically, but it's there's still technically a little extra staircase thing, but it's the top floor of the elevator.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so the upper deck thing.
Got it. So did you have any moment to just kind of sit there and look out and take it all in, or were you really just focused on the video and the questions?
Actually, yeah, and for that interview in particular, I was trying. People were upset that I didn't push as hard that time with especially by that point with a lot of questions.
Right.
And the reason was Elon expressed that he hadn't slept much the night before. He was tired, and he originally said hey, we can do an hour, and at that point we were 2.5 or 3 hours into it. So I was really trying to give him space to be a human and do the same thing. So I got the sense, I don't know if it was right, but I had a feeling that he hadn't been up there in a long time.
Wow.
And by there was a certain look that he had at one point where I could just see took it all in, and I wanted to take it in too. So there was a moment of yes, I was holding my camera, but I was actively and properly enjoying the scene because it was surreal.
That's great.
It was a beautiful sunset that night too, so it was just a good time just to be chill. And I think I even edited some stuff out too. There's a few gaps on that tour because we kind of properly just sat there and chilled for a second too.
Cool. That's
Yeah.
awesome. Now, does the tower feel a lot? I mean, it looks tall in person, but from up there, does it feel a lot taller, or does it feel about right?
Because of the lack of perspective, like there's not much, like there's not many buildings and stuff in the local, like when you're like on a skyscraper or something, you look down and you see all the buildings, you're like, oh my God, there's CVS is down there, this little thing, like.
It's just nothing.
It's just nothing. There's just beach, and like you don't quite, when you see like a car and stuff like that, sure, but like generally your brain is almost just like, oh, this is normal, because it's all so big and vast and broad that you don't get that sense of like, oh look, I don't know. It is a little different. It hits a little different.
Huh. Okay. Very cool. Okay, so you go to any good space museum and you see an old Saturn V, or you see a space shuttle and all of these Apollo era stuff, and you just see rockets everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Eventually, hopefully, maybe we'll start seeing Starship hardware in these museums.
Yeah.
Hoppy. Where's the best place for Hoppy? Is it still down here in South Texas? Should Hoppy stick around, or should it end up in like the museum in New York or one of the Smithsonian's?
I think Hoppy should stay down here, in my opinion. But I think a lot of that depends on like what's the local community want, and like, frankly, like I'm going to be completely candid. A lot of it's going to depend on like what's this look like in 5 years?
Right.
Is this still a big jobs? Like, are there a lot of awesome jobs for the local community?
True. Is
there a lot of outreach? Is there a good relationship with the county and the city, with SpaceX? As there has been. Or is it like this is slowing down? I don't want to think of like bad examples, but there's a chance that just like the local people are like, we don't like, because there's always the people that don't like what's going on here and they don't care for it, and so it might be a bad mark for them to have this like reminder of the big evil space company that came in and like right on their highway or something, but personally I think it does, if the local people wanted to stay down here, it should definitely stay down here, because it was kind of the sign of like, just wait, just wait to see what's coming. There's some big stuff coming.
Cool. And I guess we talked a little bit about this at the beginning, but do you wish you could spend more time down here and like with the development, everything happening down here, or are you kind of enjoying kind of seeing the new launch providers stuff and hopping all across the country?
I say this in the least mean way possible. I generally do really enjoy time down here, but man, it's just like an energy suck. Like yesterday we went to the pad, like I said, over the weekend, and like there goes the whole day.
Right.
Like it's just gone. And like there's a lot of stuff that we're still working on, still tweaking and still doing. And it just...
The shot looks beautiful.
Yeah, it's insane. It just really irks me that, that the days just go by so quickly. I just feel like I don't get stuff done out here like I want to.
I feel you.
It's really hard to edit. It's really hard to do other things. And luckily, I now have kind of, we have 2 or 3 people that are also working on videos, but they still, require a good amount of hands-on, obviously.
Right.
But I really like being home in Iowa. It's so chill. I feel like I get a ton of work done. And so I try to keep time down here I keep time down here to a minimum, because I know anytime I come down here, I'm going to be down here longer than I expect.
Fair enough.
So that's kind of my thoughts.
Okay, got it. Could be days away from seeing Booster 7 33 engine static fire. We'll see if that's true or not, but it's possible. Just what's your gut? Is it going to go well? Are they going at a slower, steady pace now, or are you up in the air about it?
No, I feel like at this point, if this was a year ago and they were almost a year ago, we did have them trying to go for 33, and things getting close to that, and it felt like they were in a different spot. I think the big burp last year during the spin test made them go, okay, we got to really make sure we're not going to do something horrible.
True.
I feel now they're a lot more cautious, and I think they're not even going to consider, they're not going to get close to 33 engine static fire, which is why I keep sliding until they really think there's a decent chance that this all goes perfectly. So I think I think it'll go well. I think, and I think it's on everyone's mind, is like obviously what's going to happen with all the concrete.
Yeah.
Where's all that going to go? And hopefully that's okay, but I'm sure they have an idea of it. The 14 engine static fire, I think, gave them a decent amount of confidence of like what that's going to be like. And
True. They've been shooting a lot of Raptors at different types of concrete at McGregor, it looks like. So we'll see what that's all about.
Just running simulations on, can we do this?
What are we calling Booster 7 and Ship 24 full stack? Are you 24/7, 724 full stack? Every time I catch myself saying Booster 7 and Ship 24, and that's just too many words.
That's about what I say too. I think 24/7 makes sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, it'll be fun to see what we get into with a naming scheme, a naming convention. Are we going to start saying ship first and booster, or booster first, ship first, or second?
True.
It will be interesting, and like someday will we just stop caring? Because I mean, most people don't care about which booster the Falcon 9 is on.
Eventually, it'll just be Starship.
Yep, and half the time, I mean, a lot of us do know the booster that it is, but like we're not like, oh, here comes 59 coming again, like, oh, yeah. Like it's just not that type of thing.
Right.
But yeah, and I think that'll be this way eventually. Although we are a lot more tied to this hardware. Like we don't get to see Falcon 9s be built. We don't get to see them go through the testing and iteration phases. We just see them launch. Yeah. More or less. So it might hit a little different.
I mean, after S24 was moved to the Rocket Garden for a minute, I was just sitting there looking at it and like realizing that I kind of had an emotional connection with it. Being like, I've watched this thing go through all of these. Oh, it's going to be crazy when it launches.
Yeah, and a lot of people were nervous it's going to the Rocket Garden. Is that bad?
Right.
Luckily, it wasn't. Its demise. But yeah, it's going to be scary as we continue to see some good hardware sometimes go to the Garden for, the long term.
Yep. All right, last couple, good?
Yeah.
All right, moving on from Starship. Obviously, Starship, for me, is the single rocket I'm most looking forward to. But there's some really cool stuff coming out. For example, Rocket Lab's Neutron looks awesome.
Yeah.
Stokes' project looks amazing. And it looks like people are starting to trial these things like that we haven't seen exploration of new technologies in space for a little bit. What are you most looking forward to out of everything?
Yeah, obviously Starship is going to be really hard to beat. I'm really ultimately like all these rockets lend to a bright and exciting future. There's so many that are really exciting, but ultimately, I'm almost not. It's getting to the point where there's so much to keep up with. All I really care about is I want to see the end goal progress, like seeing humans on the moon again.
True.
Like once we have humans back on the moon, and we're actually at that point in time where like that's now a reality. People are down here, and there's other people on that rock.
Right.
Like that to me is almost like the big milestone. Like the rockets come and go, and like I said, I'm really excited for Vulcan and Neutron and Stoke and all these guys, the relativity stuff. There's too many to name. Awesome stuff.
Very true.
But I'm just really excited to see like the next phase, because so far a lot of these are just kind of for better or worse, like more or less doing what we've kind of still been doing for the last 50 years. So
you're ready to see the new leaps, I guess.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay. The Artemis, moving forward and into the privatization to dearMoon, stuff like that. That's going to be a reality. Is that like people can just book a ride to the moon?
That's nuts.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It's super weird.
I hope commercialization, or not commercialization, but tourism keeps tracking forward. We've seen some, backwards progress maybe. I want to be careful of the way I say that, but I don't know. That's something I'm really looking forward to in the future, and hopefully it'll keep going.
Agreed.
Going well. So.
Agreed.
All right. All right. Getting to the last couple questions. If you could have tomorrow a working and effective and operational on a mission, aerospike, or nuclear engine, which one would it be?
Nuclear.
Nuclear for sure?
I love aerospikes, obviously.
Yep.
But they don't, at the end of the day, they don't really move the needle that much.
Yeah.
They're just really cool to me. Like, I just love the concept. I love thinking about them. I just think they're cool. But they really aren't just that much better, at the end of the day. I think Andy Lapsa from Stoke goes, at the end of the day, you might get a 15% overall, ISP advantage, maybe. Right. And lots of times it comes at the extra cost of heavier weight, blah, 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 all these other negative things. So yes, the ISP might be better, but thrust to weight ratio might be worse, et cetera, complication, all these things. And at the end of the day, nuclear thermal, we're talking 100% increase in ISP, maybe even 200, or not 200, but maybe even beyond 100, 120% increase in ISP compared to a conventional rocket engine. So it horrific thrust to weight ratios, but that's something that I'm going to do a video about for sure, because I've started scripting that many times. Is where are our nuclear thermal rocket engines?
Right.
The United States and Soviet Union both developed phenomenal thermal nuclear rockets, and then just never flew them.
Yep.
It's I don't know if they're that necessarily useful in the Earth-Moon system per se, but especially for going to Mars. Duh. It just makes so much sense.
Yeah, that's a good point. But I think nuclear engines are probably the most exciting future rocket. Future, I guess, is a quote now. But
yeah, almost retro
yeah,
future even,
yeah.
and slash current slash past. Like it's so weird. Yeah.
So very cool. All right, I guess we're at the last question. I saw that you talked about this on the Lex podcast a little bit as well. But are you gonna have time to play Kerbal 2 when it comes out, and are you looking forward to it?
Oh man, yeah. I am really excited for it actually. I recently watched, Scott Manley had a video about Juno, which I didn't realize. I kept seeing footage from it. I'm like, this looks like Simple Rockets, you know?
Yeah.
I didn't realize that it is Simple Rockets renamed.
Juno is Simple Rockets. Okay.
Yeah,
gotcha.
which I thought Simple Rockets was always really cool. But it never, I like to fly, like almost like, you know, with the keyboard a lot, and the flying of Simple Rockets and stuff wasn't as intuitive to me. But I really liked the scalability and a lot of the flexibility of Simple Rockets. So I'm really excited for Kerbal to have a lot more of that. You know, they're going to have procedural parts, a lot of new and exciting engines, and more places to explore. Kerbal's one of those things that anytime I'm on a plane, especially like if they don't have Wi-Fi and I'm waiting for Wi-Fi and stuff like that, I'm almost always playing Kerbal. So
all right.
I can't wait for Kerbal 2. I hope it performs even better. Like, because Kerbal 1 is so single core intense that you kind of max out for more or less, you know, and part count just kills.
Yeah.
So I hope Kerbal 2 just does better with the physics so that it can take more advantage of GPU and multi-core performance.
Yeah, I think it's really exciting to see them working on the project, and I think it's just going to take off. I think like so many more people are into spaceflight nowadays than when Kerbal 1 came out.
It's true.
I think it's just going to blow everybody away, and I'm really excited for that.
Do you know? Is it a new physics engine?
I actually don't know. I'm not sure.
Either. I'll have to find out.
Yeah, but I'm looking forward to what's their. Yeah, we'll have to see.
I know, it's gonna be awesome.
But that's all I got. Do you have anything else to wrap up with, or?
Oh man, I'm just hoping. I was telling you off camera that I'm hoping. No offense to this guy, but please, can they just wait? Like, I need 10 days because I'm unfortunately gone for basically 10 days. So with prior, hey, there we are. Hi. Yeah, prior obligations, and now I can't get out of it. You know, these are things that I had on the calendar. So and I don't want to miss the 33 engine static fire. So currently we're looking at, I think, Thursday-ish at this point. I really, realistically only need to slip Friday, Monday, Tuesday, 6 days. I need 6 working days of slippage.
I don't think it's that out of the question.
It's not out of the question, for sure.
Especially like, it seems like they're working on a lot of stuff down there. I don't know. To me, it doesn't seem like they're battening down the hatches, ready for an imminent static fire in the next day or two. So
definitely not.
Yeah. So
at this point, almost a week out still.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that I can catch it because I'll be really disappointed if we go through all the setup and work on this so long and don't get to see anything. So.
Yep. Well, thank you so much. If you end up back in town, I owe you at least a beer. So I appreciate you sitting down with us here today. This was actually awesome. I didn't expect to be in Luna for this, so this has just been absolutely phenomenal. So thank you so much, Tim, for this today.
Yeah, my pleasure. All right, thank you.
Awesome. Talk to you soon.
Sweet.